Did you know that banks and NBFCs can invest in the private funds like hedge funds, private equity also? But now RBI has tightened the rules to make the investment safer. Let's break it down, the new RBI investment in AIF direction in simple terms for you guys. So hello everyone, my name is Prateek Sir. By qualification I'm a chartered accountant. Let's discuss about these particular directions. So the agenda for today's class will be, first we'll be discussing about a mind map for this particular direction with the help of an example. Then we'll be discussing about what AIF is all about, what are the types of AIF. We'll be having deep dive into the details of this particular RBI direction, and at the end आपके लिए MCQs हैं जो आपको प्रैक्टिस करने हैं. ओके, तो वीडियो के लास्ट तक बने रहिएगा. सबसे पहले एक माइंड मैप समझते हैं. HDFC बैंक ने मुझे लोन दिया, राइट. HDFC बैंक ने मुझे लोन दिया. सो HDFC बैंक हियर इज द रेगुलेटेड एंटिटी, जिन्होंने एक डेटर को, मैं उनका डेटर हो गया, आई एम डेटर ऑफ HDFC बैंक, सो इट हैज गिवन मी लोन, राइट. नाउ HDFC बैंक एट द सेम टाइम इज इन्वेस्टिंग इन दिस AIF as well, alternate investment fund as well. Okay, so let's suppose HDFC bank has given me loan of 10 crore. Now HDFC bank is also investing in this AIF, let's say 2 crore. Again this AIF is investing in my company or is giving me loans. Don't you think that this is a problem? Why? Because HDFC bank ने मेरी capacity देख के loan sanction किया होगा. HDFC bank must have overseen my capability, analyzed my capability, and on the basis of that they sanctioned me 10 crore loan. However, I'm getting an indirect loan from HDFC bank via a third party entity, which is AIF here. So this is the entire mind map. That's why we are going to read this direction. RBI investment in AIF. This is a big problem. Banks are giving loan to debtors. At the same time, they are investing for better returns in AIF. AIF is giving the loans to the same debtor, which is already a party to the contract with the regulated entity. That's a problem, right? It's a problem कि indirect financing हो रही है. This is a direct financing, and this is a indirect financing. So क्या मैं बोल सकता हूं HDFC बैंक का इनडायरेक्ट एक्सपोजर आ गया है मेरी कंपनी में 10 करोड़ से भी ज्यादा का. To solve this problem, RBI earlier proposed a new AIF investment rule. So we have done a video as well on that. It's almost 2 months ago. And now अब ये final हो चुका है direction, and there are some changes as well. So we'll be discussing about this particular directions, which is final and very, very important for your examination. First, let's understand what is alternate investment funds. Okay, what is this particular entity AIF? So guys, AIF is nothing just like mutual funds. They are also investment vehicles. They also pool capital. So they'll be taking from individuals, from institutions, from HDFC bank like institutions. So they are pooling the capital from the investors, and they are investing in assets that are not typically traditional investment avenues. So they are not investing directly like stock, bonds and mutual funds. They are investing in high risky projects that are also giving a high amount of return, because risk and return go hand in hand. In finance, risk and return go hand in hand. If the risk is high, obviously the investor will demand a premium in return as well. So AIF here are nothing but a pool of funds. They are pooling capital from the investors, and they are investing in highly risky assets for the high returns. And we can see that the minimum amount in AIF is 1 crore. Okay, minimum investment amount आपको करने के लिए AIF के अंदर, if you want to invest, you need at least 1 crore in order to invest in AIF. And AIF has 3 categories. The first category is investment in startup and social impact sectors. Second category is private equity and debt fund, and the third category is your hedge funds and public market funds. So I have pasted each and everything here. You can later on download this PDF and read about the categories as well. Okay, so these are the 3 broad categories. Now let's move to the actual direction that we need to learn for the examination, and this direction will be very, very important. This is the RBI investment in AIF direction 2025. Earlier also we were having some circulars, right? We were having a draft circular as well. 2 months back RBI released it, and now that draft circular is being finalized, and there are some changes that we need to know here. Okay, so this is effective from 1st of January 2026, और earlier as per the RE's internal policy. RE चाहे तो उसको पहले भी अप्लाई कर सकती है, पर आरबीआई की तरफ से कब कंपलसरी होने वाला है? 1 जनवरी 2026 से होने वाला है, राइट? अगले कैलेंडर ईयर से होने वाला है 1 जनवरी 2026 से. Now you need to first learn about some of the key definitions here. The first one is the debtor company. Now what do you mean by debtor company? It's a company to which RE has given loans and investment exposure excluding equity investment within the last 12 months. So let's suppose RE here is HDFC Bank, right? RE here is the HDFC Bank. So HDFC Bank here is the regulated entity and I will be the debtor company. So HDFC Bank has made an investment or it has given a loan in the debtor company, right? So that's what is written here. A company to which RE has given a loan or investment exposure. RE is having an investment exposure but excluding the equity investment. This particular investment should not be in equity shares, okay, in equity instrument. So please note this, it should be a loan or it can be any other investment, but it should not be an equity investment, that too in the last 12 months, okay, that too in the last 12 months. So that is the definition of debtor company. Now for those who are not aware of what equity shares or equity instrument is all about, equity is nothing but the ownership capital. If you are holding 20% in my company, that means मेरी कंपनी का 20% पार्ट आपके पास है, आप उसके ओनर हो, right? That's the ownership capital. And equity instrument includes compulsorily convertible preference shares. If there are preference shares that are compulsorily convertible someday into equity shares, so we will be treating it at par as equity only. If there are compulsory convertible debentures, then also we will be treating it as equity shares only. So please do remember, equity shares includes equity definitely. It also includes compulsorily convertible preference shares and compulsorily convertible debentures because they are compulsorily convertible, right? So ultimately they are nothing but prospective equity shares only. So these two definitions are given in this particular circular. You already know the mind map, right? Applicability. These directions apply to the investments in AIF units by regulated entities like commercial banks, including the small finance bank, local area bank, including the even regional rural banks. So this particular circular will apply to commercial banks including SFBs, LABs and RRBs. It also applies to urban cooperative banks, state cooperative banks and central cooperative banks. It also applies to all India financial institution. We all know that we are having 5 types of AIFI in India, right? Name them in the comment section quickly. Next is the non-banking financial companies. It is also applicable on non-banking financial companies, including the HFCs, which are housing finance company. Okay. So ये regulated entity कोई भी हो सकती है, commercial bank हो सकती है, local area bank हो सकती है, scheduled commercial banks हो सकती है, SFBs, LABs, RRBs, NBFC हो सकती है, हाउसिंग फाइनेंस कंपनी हो सकती है, प्राइमरी अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक हो सकती है, स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव बैंक, सेंट्रल कोऑपरेटिव बैंक या फिर कोई AIF भी हो सकती है. What is the general requirement that is stated in the circular? So the general requirement is RE, that is HDFC Bank in our example, need to have an investment policy, must be clearly including the provisions on AIF investment. So if you are a regulated entity, if you are falling in the applicability, then you need to have a clear-cut policy that what are your rules and regulations, what are the provisions you have related to the investment in AIF, and you need to ensure strict compliance with those laws and regulations. Okay. The most important part of this circular is limit on investment and provisioning. Don't skip that. This is the most crucial part of this circular. If you are an individual RE, you cannot invest more than 10% of the AIF corpus. Okay. You cannot invest more than 10% of the AIF corpus. Let's suppose the AIF corpus is 100 crore. Say for example, you are a regulated entity here. You cannot invest more than 10% of the AIF corpus. That means you can invest maximum 10 crore, not more than 10 crore. It is the first restriction irrespective of the fact that whether you have given any loan to the concerned party or not. You can invest maximum up to 10% of the AIF corpus. collective RE. Let's suppose you are making a combined RE by all the regulated entities. Let's suppose there are more than one regulated entities and all the regulated entities are doing a combined investment in it. It cannot, they cannot exceed 20%. Combined RE investment can be max 20% of the AIF corpus. That means 20 crore in this example. And if you are making an investment in a subordinated units, if you don't know what subordinated units is all about, give me some time, I'll explain you. Okay, if you are as a RE making an investment in the subordinated units, it must be fully deducted from your tier 1 and tier 2 capital. So why? Because you are making investment in a subordinated capital, right? Subordinated instrument. Subordinated instrument is having a huge amount of risk, and as the name says it all, this is subordinated. This is below the ordinary debt, right? So subordinated units of AIF is nothing but it represents a class of investment that ranks below the other units in priority of repayment. If anything happens to the AIF, subordinated is having a lower priority as compared to the other debt, right? So because of that, I'll be paying, the AIF will be paying the other debt first and the subordinated will be last in the priority list, right? That's why it is a high risk investment. It is a high risk investment, and this direction clearly states that you need to deduct it. If you have invested in the subordinated units of AIF, you need to clearly deduct it from the tier 1 and tier capital. That's a compulsion. Okay, so as of now we have studied about the limits. अगर आप इंडिविजुअल आ रही हो तो 10%, कंबाइंड आ रही हो तो 20%, सबऑर्डिनेटेड में कर दिया तो माइनस कर देना टीयर 1 टीयर 2 कैपिटल से. इसके बाद आता है एक और इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोविजन रिलेटेड टू प्रोविजनिंग. इफ एन आरई regulated entity contributes more than 5% to an AIF that is also investing in the debtor company. Same example. HDFC Bank has given me a loan. HDFC Bank has also invested in AIF. Now this AIF is in turn giving me loans or making investment in my company. If this is the particular arrangement, the regulated entity, if it is contributing more than 5%, because up to 10% it is allowed, na? Up to 10% it is allowed. Up to 10% is allowed. But because of this particular arrangement that I have already given, the RE has already given loan to the debtor company. Again, RE is investing in AIF, and in turn the AIF is again investing in the debtor company. If this is the arrangement, then whatever contribution you have made to the AIF, whatever investment you have made to the AIF, if it is exceeding 5% of the corpus of AIF, let's suppose the corpus is 100 crore, you can definitely invest up to 10 crore. But because of this arrangement, RBI has inserted a mandatory condition, another restriction, that if you exceeded 5% of your investment, that means if you are invested 5% means 5 crore. अगर आपने 5 करोड़ से ज़्यादा इन्वेस्ट कर दिया, then in that case you need to make 100% provisioning of that particular amount. Let's suppose, let me just give you a simple example. The corpus here is 100 crore. HDFC Bank invested in AIF. HDFC Bank gave loan to me, the debtor company. Now this particular AIF is in turn investing money in my company, right? So it's an indirect financing. If HDFC Bank has, let's suppose, invested 8 crore rupee, however, ideally as per the RBI direction, I can only contribute up to 5%. Whatever is in excess of the 5%, so 5% of 100 crore is 5 crore. Whatever is in excess of the 5%, 3 crore here, I need to make, regulated entity need to make 100% provisioning. By provisioning, I mean I need to set aside this particular amount, right? I need to set aside this particular amount. I need to book it as an expense. Provision are expenses only, right? So if the RE contributes more than 5% of the AIF capital, then that investment and that particular AIF is again investing in the debtor company, the RE needs to make 100% provisioning of that additional exposure. So 5 करोड़ के ऊपर का जो exposure है उस पे आपको 100% बनाना पड़ेगा। सर पर अभी तो आपने बताया कि 10% की लिमिट है, फिर आप 5% की बात करो। देखो कोई भी रेगुलेटेड एंटिटी 10% कॉर्पस से ज्यादा एआईएफ के अंदर नहीं इन्वेस्ट कर सकती। तो अगर एआईएफ का कॉर्पस 100 करोड़ है तो आप वैसे भी उसमें 10 करोड़ से ज्यादा इन्वेस्ट नहीं कर सकते। पर अगर ऐसा अरेंजमेंट है जो हमारे एग्जाम्पल में डेटर कंपनी में आपने पैसे दिए, एआईएफ भी डेटर कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट कर रही है, तो वहां पे अगर आपने 5% से ज्यादा कॉर्पस का इन्वेस्टमेंट कर दिया, उसकी आपको प्रोविजनिंग करनी पड़ेगी। एंड दिस विल बी द वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग for your examination. This will be the most important thing for your examination. We call it as a downstream investment. Sir, downstream कैसे हो गया समझना, regulated entity, AIF, debtor company, ऑलरेडी आरई डेटर कंपनी को दे रही है, फिर आरई AIF को दे रही है, AIF वापस डेटर कंपनी को दे रहा है. सो डोंट यू थिंक दैट दिस इज अ डाउनस्ट्रीम ट्रांजैक्शन हियर, दिस इज अ डाउनस्ट्रीम इन्वेस्टमेंट हियर, राइट. सो ऐसे केस के अंदर आपको 100% प्रोविजनिंग करनी पड़ेगी. आई हैव गिवन यू एन एग्जांपल एज वेल फॉर दिस पर्टिकुलर provision, right? Then exemption, RBI has the power to exempt any kind of AIF from the scope of these direction. Definitely this power is there with the RBI, right? और जो पुराने सर्कुलर्स थे, पुराने प्रोविजंस थे, वो सब हट जाएंगे और ये नया प्रोविजन एड ऑन हो जाएगा. नाउ आई हैव इंसर्टेड 3 क्वेश्चंस लाइक एवरी सेशन. सो आप इसका आंसर मुझे जरूर दीजिएगा कमेंट सेक्शन में फॉर बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, ताकि आपका ये सुपर स्ट्रॉन्ग जोन के अंदर चला जाए सर्कुलर, बिकॉज दिस इज गोइंग टू बी वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. A bank invests in subordinated units of an AIF. Which treatment applies under the new rules? So you are having the options here. 5 options here. आपको मुझे comment section में बताना है करेक्ट आंसर क्या है. This is the homework question number 1. This is the homework question number 2. Large regulated entities often invest in AIF to diversify their portfolio, and under the new RBI directions, if a group RE collectively invests 25%, if the group RE कलेक्टिवली ग्रुप आरई ने 25% इन्वेस्ट कर दिया एआईएफ को कॉर्पस में, सो वहां पे क्या कंडीशन अप्लाई होगी. दिस इज द होमवर्क क्वेश्चन नंबर 2. एंड द थर्ड क्वेश्चन इज सपोज बैंक ए कंट्रीब्यूट्स 8% ऑफ द एआईएफ कॉर्पस, देन द एआईएफ लेटर इन्वेस्ट इन द डेटर कंपनी ऑफ द बैंक ए. वही वाला अरेंजमेंट जिसके बारे में हमने बात करी थी. व्हाट इज द प्रोविजन रिक्वायरमेंट अंडर द आरबीआई न्यू डायरेक्शन. दिस इज द होमवर्क क्वेश्चन नंबर 3. सो प्लीज गाइस लेट मी नो इन द कमेंट सेक्शन कि यहाँ पे क्या सही आंसर होना चाहिए, और वीडियो में जरूर बताना कि आपको ओवरऑल कॉन्सेप्ट का अंडरस्टैंडिंग समझ में आया कि नहीं आया, आपको वीडियो कैसा लगा. ओके गाइस, थैंक यू सो मच. इसी तरह के इनिशिएटिव्स हम आपके लिए लाते रहेंगे. बाय बाय, टेक केयर.